Welcome. I'm Meredith. This is the Oasis Spiritual Empowerment Tarot, all about tarot, oracle, and empowering you. And today's video is about what happens when you get a deck that you love, but there's that one card, maybe two, that really just, you just can't relate to them. You just don't like them for whatever reason. This question has come up a few times, and I have the perfect example, for me. So this deck is the Penumbra Tarot, Evoke the Liminal Space, and it's created by Eris Elizabeth, and the guidebook is by Ethany with Eris Elizabeth. This is a beautiful deck. I'm going to tell you. It comes in this nice box. It's got a huge chunky book. And the cards. Look at those backs. Absolutely stunning. I mean, really stunning. The card stock is superb. Gorgeous gilding. And the cards, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful artwork. And I love this deck. But there's one card that really just, it throws me, right? Or it did. So I know some of us have those, those special cards that really need to work for us, right? So one of those for me is the Strength card. And that's the card that prevented me initially from using this deck. It's beautiful, right? It's beautifully made. It's not like there's anything wrong with the art, but there's like an anger and a violence, beneath the surface for me. That's what I see when I see this card, and that doesn't mesh up to how I see the Strength card. So I thought I would talk about what I did to kind of resolve this, because again, this deck is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it really, really, I look at this. Oh, for the Ten of Swords, how wonderful. It's a fabulous deck, and it's absolutely gorgeous, and I really love it. When I first got this deck, I let it sit and linger, because when I went through the cards and I got to Strength, I was like, oh, I don't know about that. And Strength tends to be a card that pops up a lot for me, too. So I'm going to kind of go through my process, and maybe that'll give you some ideas on what you might do. Now, of course, look, there are going to be some decks, and you'll see a card or two or whatever it is, and you'll say, oh, no. And it turns you off from the whole deck. And I totally get that. But in this case, I really love this deck. It's just this one stinking card. So, the first thing I did was to look at the guidebook. Because I thought, well, maybe there's something in the guidebook to really help me accept this card, right? So, the guidebook is quite nice. So we have Legacy, then we have a reversed. We have Eris's notes. There's an apogee, perigee, and a song, which I love that. So I think all of the cards have songs. So yeah, which is super fabulous. But, and the song for this is Become the Beast, which I'm not familiar with this song, but the title definitely feels like this card feels, right? Which is not really where I want my Strength card to bring me. But anyway, let's read a little bit. It says, Strength comes in many forms. The most obvious isn't always the one that wins the day. True strength comes from within and will last a lifetime if cultivated. Whatever you feed will grow. You have the choice to feed your inner resilience, mental strength, and emotional intelligence. Or you can choose to feed your fears and doubts. Now, at that, I'm like, well, that's what this looks like, right? This looks like what's going on. Like resentments, anger. It's all been like building and building, and it's been fed. Again, not really what I want from a strength card, but strength arriving in your reading is a reminder that you are in control of your inner landscape, even if that means you require the courage to ask for help. It's the card of courage, energy, fortitude, and a sign to keep going. Look at overcoming the obstacles you are facing with more than sheer brute force. Now that, to me, is kind of like the opposite of what's depicted here. All right. Reverse, I'm not even going to get into. So then when we get to Eris's notes, now remember, this is the creator. So for Apogee, we have dig deep, they said, and so she did. Strength has many manifestations, and fierceness is something you can dig out of the core of your own heart. There is a crown and a scepter hidden within the folds of ourselves that we can whip out and smite with. And then Paragi, for this card, I wanted to merge the lion and lady into one. I was reminded of the transformation of superheroes in the 80s cartoons I watched as a child. She-Ra, Sailor Moon, and Jem inspired me. I internalized the idea that we all hold within us a legacy to assume a divine persona with limitless, loving, and golden-crusted power. The yellow roses symbolize the sun's power, the ruler of Leo, the lion, and the zodiac. I get it. Didn't help me. Didn't help me want to work with this deck. Okay. So, I again kind of set it aside after this. So I was like, I tried a couple readings, and of course, what popped up? Of course. And I just put it aside. So then I went back later on and said, you know what? Instead of looking to the book for help, I'm going to look to the deck itself, right? So I wrote down what I did. So the first thing I did was I pulled a card asking what do I need to know about this card, right? What is it that's important for me to know? And I pulled the Lovers, which that's a fabulous Lovers card. And to me, instantly, duality, balance, choice, right? And anger, resentment, those are choices. They're not always easy to make, but they are choices, you know? Okay, so then I said, what do I need to think about with regard to this card? And I pulled the Hanged One. And of course, perspectives, right? That's in this example, 100%. I need to take on new perspectives when it comes to this card. And really, that's a fabulous opportunity, you know? I've been working with tarot for a lot of years, and to be able to really shift my perspective so completely and be able to really see it differently is a gift. So, then I asked, how do I do this, right? How am I going to get these perspectives? And got the Two of Swords, which again speaks to me of that choice, right? I have to choose consciously to start to see this differently. And by doing that, by taking those different perspectives, really keeping in mind this theme of balance, of duality, of choice, right? And we see choice coming up again and again. What's the outcome? And I got the Fool, which is so wonderful because, of course, that's new experience, new opportunities. So it's actually really exciting, right? So this got me very excited to work with this because I thought, oh, this is perfect. And again, I love that card so much for the Lovers. That's so fabulous. So then I decided I wanted to work with this card. So I don't often use significators, but basically that's what I did with this, right? So I started from here, and basically coming from this place, it's hard to, a lot of it's just sort of in my head, but basically coming from this place, I was like, what do I need to do from here? Okay. So I pulled the Crown of Swords, which is basically the Queen of Swords, and the Crown of Cups. It was really interesting. So, to me, that's talking about that mastery of conscious thought, but also of emotions, right? Which, Hamilton, please stop. If you think about the strength and, again, what it presented to me anyway, that's kind of what's going on there, right? It's like a battle of these. At least that's how it feels to me. And then, I'm like, well, okay, so once I get this, what's going to happen? And one of my favorite cards, the Tower. And I know it's a card a lot of people don't like to see. I love to see it. It's an upheaval, but it's for a good thing, and I just love that. So that's exciting to me. So I'm like, okay. So once I kind of get that mastery here and here, right? And this happens, and it clears away all the junk that perhaps, was causing an issue. What happens next? What's that outcome for me? And I pulled 2 cards. The Star and the Sun. How fabulous is that? So, and again, this is a spread I did a while ago. But I wrote down, what I got. And I love, and again, look how super gorgeous. So this just sort of excited me even more. We have that hope, we have that success, we have, the Star is hope for others, which I really love. So it's these 2 different spreads got me more excited to work with this card. And so with other decks, when I pull the Strength card, everything depends, right? It depends on the reading, depends on, But overall, with other decks, when I pull the Strength card, it's that inner strength, but there's a kind of quiet strength. There's a peacefulness, a self-assuredness that I feel. And in this card, for me, the way I've been using this deck, when this card comes up, I kind of pause, right? If it's, oh man, I'm trying to think of how to describe it. So depending on where it falls and, how it comes up in a reading, look how gorgeous. If you want to see a full walkthrough of this, let me know. I'm sure it exists. The deck's not new, but if you want, let me know. But so if I'm doing, whatever spread, and this card comes up, as opposed to, in times past, I would, with other decks, I would, kind of lean into that self-assuredness, that quiet confidence, that inner strength, that kind of stuff. Here, I still feel that it's like that monster below the surface, right? That if you're not careful, he's going to break through the gate and get out. That's how this feels to me. And so I do read it differently than I do in other decks, but it's not a bad thing. Like for this, now the throne is like the king in this deck. I mean, it would depend on, what I was asking, of course. But essentially, especially seeing these two together, I feel like this card for me is more of a warning card than anything else. And it's like reflecting back into the card. So like here, we have that Three of Swords, right? We're talking about losses, disappointments. And to me, this is the warning. Like, you got to keep it under control. Because this could cause this, right? But we don't want that. We want, what have I got? Here I am thinking I was going to pull the card I wanted, like, instantly, but I didn't. But we want something a little more peaceful and calm. So we have Element of Cups. So the element is the kid. Oh my goodness. The page. So that's the page. That's really interesting how that came up. So it doesn't matter. But so this card, instead of missing the more typical way that I saw this opens up new doors. And sometimes you do need to open the gate too, right? Sometimes that's important. I personally, I'm a very peaceful person. I don't like drama. I don't like upset. But that said, if I need to protect myself or my loved ones, you're gonna see that. I am a Leo, or even strangers. I tend to be a little protective, but so I can see myself in there too. You know what I mean? Still not my favorite strength card by any means. Oh, look at that. But I've kind of made my peace with it. And more than that, I like it for what it brings. Because it brings a very different perspective. And, this is how I view tarot decks that bring different perspectives to the cards. I feel like I'm going to pull the deck that I need to work with in that moment. And so the deck is going to, certain cards have different tweaks, have different feelings that they bring up. So I feel like I'm just going to pull the one that's right for me in that moment, So I don't worry too much about, oh, this card feels different, or it's okay, because I think that when I need it, and just because I pull the deck doesn't mean I'm going to pull that card. So again, I feel like I pull the card when I need it, when I need this message, which, sorry, I have been using it. But this is such a lovely deck. Now I will tell you a couple of other things that I've done to work with this deck. Is, I did the flip throughs, and I started kind of pairing up the different cards and putting them together in different ways and incorporating the strength with each one. So for example, this one's actually pretty well shuffled because I have been using it. So of course nothing's coming up that I want. But say got a whole lot of nothing. Dang it. So one of the more interesting ways I worked with it was with, or at least to me, was with the court cards. Don't know what that bang was. Right. So now, when I did it, here, I was working with one suit at a time. That's the only. Here we go. And I kind of I dove into the court cards for each suit and kind of presented it to myself like this is me, and I'm kind of exploring this. I'm learning what these have to teach me as this. Does that make sense? It's probably a weird thing, but that's me. So I did it for each and just kind of said, what lesson do we have here for this character? And of course, in that moment, I'm that character, right? So that helped. I also, can we pause for a moment? And doesn't that look like David Bowie as Jareth, the Goblin King? I'm just saying. I love it. Sorry. He's the devil. Here we go. So I did this also with the other majors. And even with the minor cards. So I took my time and I really explored the deck through the eyes of this card. It's basically how to explain it. It wasn't really like a reading because, again, I purposefully pulled out the cards that I wanted. Like here, we have the Emperor and the Empress, right? So I kind of pulled them and just sat with it, like this, So it wasn't reading. So I just kind of pulled it like this, and just sat with it, and then I kind of stepped into this card, and then stepped into this, and stepped into this. I suppose you could say it was like a meditation. There's definitely a light level of trance that happened in the process, but it was really enjoyable, and it helped me to just explore the deck as a whole as well. So there were some of the majors that I paired together, like the Emperor and the Empress. There are some that it was a one-on-one, like with the Hermit. But all of these things just kind of combined. And so now when I pull this card, I'm not... Before when I pulled it, it was like, oh, sorry. But it was, And again, the artwork's beautiful. That's not the problem. It's the energy that I feel when I look at it. But now, I appreciate that energy. And it reminds me not only to be careful to balance it, right? And to remember that this energy is a choice, right? When you need it, you can call it up, because sometimes you do need it, let's be real. But most of the time, I think you don't need it. And that's when you have to kind of keep that balance. And to bring in the guidebook, you want to really be aware and conscious of what you're feeding. Right? Yeah, and I really appreciate it. I still don't love this card, but I do appreciate it, and I do work well with it now. So yeah, so that's how I've dealt with it. Look at that, I love it. I really love this deck. It's super, super fabulous, and I'm really happy. Sorry, spider. I'm really happy that I was able to kind of break through with this card, because this is a fabulous, fabulous deck. So let me know what you think. Does this make any sense? Is this useful to you at all? What do you do? Love that too. What do you do to, if you have a deck and there's a particular card or even cards that just feel kind of yucky to you for whatever reason, you just don't like them, you can't relate to them, how do you deal with that? Certainly you could just, put the deck aside and gift it or, sell it, whatever. But if it's a deck that you really love, aside from that card, what do you do so that you can be comfortable to work with it? Or maybe it's okay not to be comfortable. Maybe you just want to be able to work with it, and you're okay with a little discomfort because, just like the 3s and the 5s, we need that little bit of discomfort to nudge us along, to help us to grow. So let me know what you think. And I really am interested in hearing your thoughts and about your practices. And until next time, just be wonderful to yourself. Be really, really wonderful, because you deserve the best, only the best, all the best, and that is my wish for you.